ancient America's cultures, the historical origins of the Incas are difficult to distinguish from the founding myths they themselves created. According to legend, in the beginning, the created god Viracocha came out of the Pacific Ocean, and when he arrived to the lake Titicaca, he created the sun and all ethnic groups. These first people were birthed by the god, and only later did they emerge from springs and rocks back into the world. The Incas specifically were brought into existence at Tiwanaku, or Tiwanaco, from the sun god Inti. Hence, they regarded themselves as chosen few, the children of the sun, and the Inca ruler was Inti's representative and embodiment on earth.
The Inca capital of Cusco was the religious and administrative center of the empire, and had a population of 150,000 at its peak, dominated by the sacred gold-covered and emerald-studded Coricancha complex, or Temple of the Sun. Its greatest buildings were credited to Pachacuti, incorporating vast plazas, parklands, shrines, fountains, and canals. The splendor of Inca Cusco now, unfortunately, survives only in the eyewitness accounts of the first Europeans who marveled at its architecture and riches.
Machu Picchu is a 15th century Inca site located in a ridge between Huyana Picchu and Machu Picchu mountains in Peru. It sits 70 feet above sea level on the eastern slope of the Andes and overlooks the Urubamba River hundreds of feet below. The site's excellent preservation, the quality of its architecture, and the breathing mountains has made Machu Picchu one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world today. The site covers 800 acres. Terrace fields on the edge of the site were once used of growing crops, likely maize and potatoes.
List of their kings, so that we know of such names as Pachacuti Inca, Yupanqui, Tupac Inca Yupanqui, and Huayna. It is possible that two kings ruled at the same time and that queens may have had some significant powers, but the Spanish records are not clear in both points. The Sapa Inca was an absolute ruler, and he lived a life of great opulence, drinking from gold and silver cups, wearing silver shoes, and living in a palace furnished with the finest textiles. He was pampered at two extremes.
The Incas construct large buildings, walls, and fortifications using finely worked blocks, either regular or polygonal, which fitted together so precisely no mortar was needed. With an emphasis on clean lines, trapezoid shapes, and incorporating natural features into these buildings, they have easily withstood the powerful earthquakes which frequently hit the region. The cancha was a typical architectural feature of the Inca towns, and the idea was exported to conquered regions.
The Incas were a South American people who controlled a large empire that stretched along the Pacific coast from Ecuador to North Chile, strongly in the area of Peru.
Great reverence for two earlier civilizations who had occupied much the same territory, the Wari and Tiwanaku. As we have seen, the sites of Tiwanaku and Lake Titicaca played an important part in Inca creation myths, and so were specifically revered. Inca rulers made regular pilgrims to Tiwanaku and to the islands of the lake, where two shrines were built to Inti, the sun god and supreme Inca deity, and the moon goddess Mama Kilia. Also, in the Coricancha complex at Cusco, these deities were represented by large precious metal artworks, which were attended and worshipped by priests and priestesses led by the second most important person after the king, the high priest of the sun or Wirak Umu.
Influenced by the art and techniques of the Chimu, the Incas created their own distinctive style, which was an instantly recognizable symbol of imperial dominance across the empire. Inca art is best seen in highly polished metal work. Something curious is that they considered the gold as the sweat of the sun and the silver as tears of the moon. They also worked with ceramics and textiles. The different shapes and designs in textile art also was a way to represent the communities.
The Inca Empire was founded on and maintained by force, and the ruling Incas were very often unpopular with their subjects, especially in the northern territories, a situation that the Spanish conquistadors, led by Francisco Pizarro, would take full advantage of in the middle decades of the 16th century. The Inca Empire, in fact, has not still reached a stage of consolidated maturity when it faced the greatest challenge. Rebellions were rife, and the Incas were engaged in a war in Ecuador, where a second Inca capital had been established at Quito. Even more serious, the Incas were hit by an epidemic of European diseases, such as smallpox, which had spread from Central America even faster than European invaders themselves, and a wave killed a staggering 65 to 90% of the population. The Inca language, Quechua, lives on today and it's still spoken by some 8 million people. There are also a good number of buildings, artifacts and written accounts which have survived the revenge of conquerors, looters, and time. These remains are proportionally few of the past riches which have been lost, but they remain indisputable witness to the wealth, ingenuity, and high cultural achievements of this great but short-lived civilization.